the likelihood of a fight with you and Terence Crawford? It would be one of the biggest in boxing.
We don't talking about yet about the fight. Me and Turki know each other.
Turki has been relentless in his chase of bringing Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez into the same ring with a jaw-dropping $95 million offer. It looked like boxing's next big super fight was on the horizon, but Crawford, to the surprise of many, has now rejected the deal.
If it isn't Canelo next year, are you done from the sport, Terence?
I wouldn't say that. Right now, I'm just weighing out my options and looking for the best opportunities and options for Terence Crawford in my career.
Absolutely.
Response wasn't what you'd expect from a fighter reportedly hungry for legacy and greatness, leaving the boxing world divided on whether this was a calculated move or a mischance.
Canelo Alvarez versus Terence "Bud" Crawford. What is your honest thoughts on that as an opportunity and a potential fight?
Oh, it's always is a chance there, right? We'll see, but always is a chance there, and we're here to make the best deals and always.
Turki hasn't given up hope. He's still determined to make the fight happen, offering to deal directly with Canelo and provide what he considers a fair price. But what is fair when one fighter has everything to lose and the other stands to gain a massive payday and undeniable legacy points? Canelo has made it clear in the past that he values his fights highly, especially those that risk his image or invite criticism from him. A fight against Crawford offers money, which he doesn't lack, and little else legacy-wise. It's a mismatch. Beating Crawford would bring no real credit. Fans would still be left asking why he wasn't fighting David Benavidez or another serious threat at 168 pounds.
It's the same for me. I don't need to take that fight because then everybody's gonna say it's too small, and then, you know, he need to enjoy.
Crawford's fixation on Canelo has its logic. Fighting Canelo would bring him the kind of attention, legacy, and payday few athletes ever achieve. It's a chance to send himself into the history books while cashing in at a level rarely seen in the sport. But this obsession with one name has created a strange dynamic. Turki told Crawford he could have any fight he wanted, but Crawford isn't interested in anyone else. Fighters like Yaron Butsanis, Sebastian Fundora, or even David Morrell are seen as steps backward for someone of Crawford's level.
Yeah, because a lot of people are saying like, hey, you know, forget about Canelo. That was a tough fight with Madrimov. Go ahead and give Boots a shot. Give Boots the chance. But Eddie's saying, hey, you know, I think Crawford's saying, hey, give me the Canelo fight, or I'm not fighting. I'm done.
Why? What does he got to prove to Boots? Boots trying to take over and start beating the guys around him. Prove that he's the best of that group. Bud is in a group above him. Bud don't need to come back down to 47 to meet him. That's crazy. Why would he? Bud looking to try to make history.
Still, avoiding these fights might not be the wisest move. Facing someone like Benavidez, for instance, could elevate Crawford's name while giving him a safety net. If he loses, he can easily point to Ben's size, youth, and raw power as the deciding factors. The same goes for Artur Beterbiev or Dmitry Bivol. Taking on one of these dangerous opponents would provide enormous attention. Even if the outcome wasn't in Crawford's favor, it's not just about winning, it's about showing the world that he's willing to take risks against the best in the game.
You know, realistically left your mind once he said he's not interested, or you're still pursuing it?
Not at all. You know, I think...
Yet Crawford doesn't seem interested in risks that don't come with the reward of beating Canelo. His singular focus has left some fans questioning his intentions. Is he chasing greatness, or is he unwilling to gamble his pristine record against opponents who might not bring the same amount of fame and fortune? The criticism gets louder with each passing day. Fighters like Benavidez and Morrell are calling for big fights, and Crawford's decision to pass on these chances doesn't sit well with a fan base eager for action.
It's his weight class. 75 is his weight class, and you know, he do nothing in 175. Really? No, he's not the same. But
Canelo, meanwhile, has his own battles to consider. His possible fight against David Benavidez is the matchup fans are truly clamoring for, and it's one that could bring him the respect he deserves, but even that fight has its complications. Reports say Canelo wants an astronomical $200 million for the bout, a figure that makes the $100 million offer for Crawford look like a bargain. If Canelo is holding out for such an enormous payday, it's hard to imagine him stepping into the ring with Crawford for less, especially, and the risks are far lower.
Canelo, Johnny Boy Boxing Fight Hype. I just want to ask you, what do you think about Terence Crawford? What do we think about Terence Crawford's performance, and do you want to get a fight with him?
if the money is right, I mean...
$100 million, I heard Turkey offered you a big money.
The mechanics of this situation are messy, to say the least. Turki's attempt to broker a deal has added another layer of difficulty, while his enthusiasm is admirable. It's clear that he might be misunderstanding what it takes to bring Canelo to the table. The promise of a fair price might sound reasonable, but Canelo's track record suggests he's not one to settle for less than he thinks he's worth. And why should he? At this stage in his career, Canelo has nothing to show. His legacy is secure, and his financial future is set.
Doing that.
Where do things stand with Turkey? Turkey said he would like to open a line of communication with no middlemen, just you and him. And
I never say no to business. So if it is a business for me, I'm open to talk, no matter what.
For Crawford, the case is different. He's in a situation where one wrong move could tarnish his legacy, but a big win could elevate him to the pantheon of all-time greats. That's why his reluctance to face anyone other than Canelo is so puzzling. A fight against Benavidez or Bivol wouldn't just be a good fight. It could possibly be better than fighting Canelo. Losing to a much larger opponent would come with built-in excuses, and the press would still be massive. Fans would respect the courage it takes to step into the ring with a bigger, stronger foe even if the result didn't go his way.
Very, very effortlessly. He's a tough guy to deal with, and 12 rounds is a long time. But Crawford has a very deep bag of tricks. He's got great, very high boxing IQ. We always watch him early on. He's collecting data on his opponent. Madrimov was a tough nut to crack. It took him a lot of rounds to figure it out, but 9, 10, 11, 12, he started really pushing that pace, was able to get his hands off.
But instead of exploring these choices, Crawford has chosen to stay fixated on Canelo. His decision to turn down Turkey's $100 million offer sends a mixed message. On one hand, it suggests that Crawford is serious about not looking desperate for the fight. On the other, it raises questions about whether he's truly interested in taking on the best challenges available for Turkey. The road ahead is uncertain. He's made it clear that he's willing to go the extra mile to make this fight happen, but his optimism might not be enough. The harsh truth is that Canelo holds all the cards, and he knows that if Turkey wants to make this fight a reality, he'll have to offer something truly special, something that goes beyond just a big paycheck. As for Crawford, his options are shrinking. The longer he waits, the more the boxing world moves on.
I just want the opportunity, to fight the best fighter in my generation that's out there. He's the most accomplished fighter, and I would just like to, fight.
Fighters like Benavidez, Morel, and even Beterbiev are making waves, and each missed chance chips away at Crawford's relevance. He might not see these fights as appealing now, but in the grand scheme of things, it could be the stepping stones he needs to secure the legacy he wants. Even with all this, Crawford still chose to fight Madrimov, a fight that, to Canelo, didn't exactly show Crawford as a worthy opponent despite Crawford winning a unanimous decision. Victory. Canelo openly suggested that Madrimov earned a better outcome. Speaking to Fight Hype, the Mexican superstar made his position clear. I think he knows why there are weight groups there, right? He had a good fight, but for me, I think he lost the fight or drew it. It could have been the other side.
They talk all the crazy stuff about me going up and having a tough time, but he went up in weight and lost. That's the difference. I went up weight and won. He went up and lost. So let's not do that, Canelo.
Those words hold weight. Canelo isn't just a spectator in Crawford's career. He's the man many expect to stand across the ring from him should Crawford make the full leap to super middleweight. For Canelo to criticize Crawford's debut at super welterweight as anything less than stellar undercuts any momentum Crawford hoped to build toward that possible fight. From Crawford's viewpoint, his debut in a higher weight class was supposed to be a statement. Israel Madrimov, with only 11 professional fights, might not have had the deepest resume, but his amateur pedigree and awkward style presented a genuine challenge. Crawford gave flashes of his usual brilliance, but Madrimov found success well enough to make the fight competitive.
The others say, no, that's 2 more weight classes. Once he gets touched by Canelo, it's going to be different.
I am concerned about him absorbing a Canelo punch, especially through the course of 12 rounds. We do know this about Canelo. He's going to slow down.
Promoter Eddie Hearn wasn't shy about his frustrations with the outcome, claiming that Madrimov was unfairly judged. Crawford didn't do enough to snatch the belt. Hearn said, voicing what some in the boxing world are thinking, that critique alone casts a shadow over the win, but when combined with Canelo's damning verdict, it raises an even bigger question. Why would Canelo entertain the idea of fighting Crawford? Now Canelo's situation is unique. He's not just another champion. He's a unified super middleweight kingpin, a fighter whose every move is dissected, taking a fight with Crawford after such a lukewarm debut at a higher weight class would surely invite criticism. Fans would charge him of picking on a smaller, weaker opponent, especially if Crawford falters in the ring against him. For Canelo, the risk doesn't seem worth the reward. Even if he wins convincingly, as many would expect, the narrative could easily flip against him. Instead of celebrating another feather in his cap, he'd face charges of cherry-picking a smaller fighter whose move up in weight proved shaky at best. Crawford's unanimous decision over Madrimov may have added another belt to his collection, making him a 4-division world champion, but it also opened the door for questions about his ability to handle the size, power, and skill of fighters. In higher weight classes, those doubts make a fight with Canelo less enticing for Alvarez, who thrives on cementing his reputation against worthy adversaries. A match with Crawford now feels less like a career-defining moment and more like an unnecessary risk.
Turki Al-Sheikh playing games. You got somebody ask Turki Al-Sheikh, is this happening? Look at his response about Crawford facing Canelo. Look at his response. Make the fight, Turki, make the fight.
Canelo's fight against Edgar Berlanga showed the stark difference in stakes. Berlanga, while not yet a household name, is a natural, super middleweight with knockout power and youth on his side. The win against Berlanga reinforced Canelo's dominance in the division and kept his legacy intact. A fight with Crawford, on the other hand, doesn't offer the same amount of validation. Crawford's position becomes even more complicated when viewed through this lens. Madrimov was supposed to be a stepping stone, a way to prove he could fight at higher weights and justify the hype around a Canelo showdown. Instead, the performance gave critics ammunition and made Canelo's skepticism all the more present.
Just from your expert opinion, knowing how Canelo fights, what he's like in the ring, I know you haven't been in the ring with Terence, but what do you think of that fight?
I truly believe, that, anything can happen in boxing, you know what I'm saying? And Terence Crawford is a legend. He's great. He's a great fighter. The only thing I see that I favor Canelo is that, is his weight.
Yeah.
And that he's more bigger. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing. But as far as skill set wise, IQ, I feel like Crawford can match anybody and probably do way better.
In the world of boxing, image is everything. Crawford's victory might read as another win on paper, but the responses from Hernan Canelo tell a different story. They highlight a performance that, while sufficient to earn a belt, wasn't convincing enough to erase doubts about Crawford's viability and weight classes. Beyond his comfort zone, Canelo, with his usual pragmatism, appears to be playing the long game by questioning Crawford's performance. He's not just throwing shade. He's shaping the narrative as if a fight between the two does happen. Canelo wants it on terms that make sense for him financially, competitively, and in terms of reputation. Until then, Crawford's way forward might require more than just belts. It'll take performances that leave no room for doubt, something his win over Madrimov failed to deliver.
For me, in my weight class, it's an easy fight. For me, easy money. So if the money is right, I'm in, because I don't like to fight guys like Crawford because he move a lot and the fight is not that great. I saw Crawford the last fight and he don't move that much now. So yeah, if the money is right, I mean, why not?
As things stand, the gulf between Crawford and Canelo feels bigger than ever. Canelo, comfortable in his status as a pound-for-pound great, doesn't need Crawford to solidify his place in history. But for Crawford, the opposite might not be true. To truly elevate his legacy, he'll need to convince not just the fans, but also Canelo himself that he's a worthy opponent. And after Madrimov, that's a harder sell than anyone imagined. But it seems like it will stay just a conversation rather than a reality, as the obstacles in the way are far more complex than agreeing on a multi-million-dollar purse. Canelo Alvarez, being the biggest draw in boxing, already gets unmatched financial power in the sport. However, his reported $200 million purse demand to face David Benavidez is widely seen as a strategic barrier rather than a genuine expectation. It's a way to sidestep the fight without publicly rejecting it. For a fighter of Canelo's size, every move is calculated. Accepting a fight with Crawford, who is significantly smaller and unknown at super middleweight, comes with its own risks, ones that go beyond the physical. Eddie Hearn offered insights into why this possible fight faces so many hurdles. Speaking to Fight Hype, Hearn made it clear that despite His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh's enthusiasm for the matchup, Connect himself looks less eager. I'll be honest, I'd be very surprised if that fight happens. Hearn admitted it didn't seem like it was something Canelo really wanted to do.
With all the antics that Canelo is doing and saying in the media and whatnot, about the size and he won't get no credit and all this type of things. But Canelo been fighting smaller guys his whole career.
Hearn revealed that he had spoken directly with Canelo about the fight and got a straightforward answer. Canelo's hesitancy stems from the likely narrative that would follow a win over Crawford. I think his feeling is that when he beats Crawford, everyone will say, "I beat a 154-pound fighter." Hearn stated this point cuts to the core of the issue for Canelo. To fight against Crawford is a lose-lose situation. If he wins, critics will dismiss it as a foregone conclusion against a smaller opponent. If he loses, the backlash would be even harsher, questioning how generational talent like Canelo could be outclassed by someone jumping up to weight divisions. The size disparity is not just a talking point. It's a key factor in the entire conversation. Crawford, for all his skill and power, has yet to prove himself at 168 pounds. Madrimov, a natural super welterweight with a Turkish style but limited professional experience, managed to reveal vulnerabilities in Crawford's game. Demetrius Andrade, another recognized voice in the boxing world, weighed in with a blunt assessment of Crawford's chances at 168 pounds. Speaking to Fight Hub TV, Andrade said Canelo is a fierce dog and can run all night. "I think Crawford has the skills, but when it comes to salt-taking punches and stopping power punches, Canelo also knows how to move. He has agility, not like a robot." Andrade's analysis shows the uphill battle Crawford would face in such a matchup. Canelo's ability to absorb punches, control the pace, and adapt in the ring would likely negate Crawford's technical advantages. While I recognized Crawford's undeniable skills, he voiced doubts about the result. "I don't think Crawford can beat Canelo, but I still think he can give him a good fight, and I'll be sitting there watching it." Andrade added the sentiment that the idea that Crawford might be out of his place isn't limited to Andrade. It's a widely shared opinion in boxing circles. Even as Crawford entertains the idea of moving up to divisions, the reality of such a leap is questionable. Fighters like Canelo, who have been operating at super middleweight for years, are accustomed to the size, strength, and endurance needed at that level. For Crawford, who has built his reputation at 135, 140, and 147 pounds, the adjustment would be monumental.
Wonderful, I can't. Hey, A++.
Is he one of the best offensive fighters in the game?
And one of them, definitely.
What makes him that, bud?
You know what I mean? He's just relentless. You know what I mean? It's pressure, but it's smart pressure.
Canelo's reluctance to engage with Crawford is also tied to his present trajectory. The Mexican star has repeatedly expressed his desire to fight the best available opponents while keeping his position as the sport's top draw for Canelo. The matchup bears far less risk of reputational damage compared to facing Crawford. Meanwhile, Crawford's options are narrowing. A fight with Canelo marks the pinnacle of what he could achieve financially and historically, but the road to that fight is blocked by factors outside his control. Even Turki Alalshik's substantial financial backing may not be enough to sway Canelo if the Mexican thinks the fight doesn't fit with his legacy goals. The size disadvantage is perhaps the most important challenge. It's not just about the numbers on a scale. It's about how those numbers translate in the ring at 168 pounds. Canelo's punches carry a level of power and force that Crawford has never faced. The idea that Crawford could overcome such a deficit with skill alone is tempting but unrealistic. In the eyes of many experts, Canelo's calculated approach to his career ensures that every fight he takes adds to his reputation. A victory over Crawford, while financially lucrative, doesn't give the same level of validation as wins over natural super middleweights or light heavyweights for Canelo. The narrative counts as much as the result. Crawford's chances against Canelo Alvarez stem from his obvious skill, ring IQ, and ability to adapt mid-fight. Crawford's ability switching smoothly between orthodox and southpaw stances has baffled opponents at every weight class he's fought in. His timing precision and ability to exploit an opponent's weaknesses could possibly trouble even a fighter of Canelo's caliber. Bud's footwork and defensive instincts might help him to avoid Canelo's powerful combinations and create opportunities to counter. However, the obvious challenge lies in moving up to 168 pounds. Crawford has ruled at 147, but the physicality of super middleweight is an entirely different beast. Fighters in this division are typically stronger and harder hitting. Canelo, a seasoned campaigner at 168, has carried his power through multiple weight classes, delivering crushing hits to opponents like Caleb Plant and Billy Joe Saunders. Crawford would not only have to deal with his power but also with Canelo's iron chin, which has absorbed shots from some of the sport's heaviest hitters, adding to the difficulty. Crawford's frame might struggle to carry the added weight without compromising speed and stamina, two of his key assets, while his skill set might match or even beat Canelo's in certain aspects. The size and strength disparity could make those advantages less effective. Canelo's ability to cut off the ring and establish his will against larger opponents could overwhelm Crawford, especially in the later rounds as the possibility of this fight fades. Crawford's path forward becomes increasingly challenging. To truly position himself as a threat to Canelo, he would need to prove his worth against top-tier opponents at 168 pounds, a job that seems daunting given the circumstances. Until then, the conversation about a Crawford-Canelo showdown will stay just that, a conversation. What do you think? Share your ideas below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates.